Is Waste going to snap Legacy in half? No, but if you'll play Pretend with me for the next 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I think we're going to have a really good time. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Jamie sent me a pretty sweet Waste brew that I have tinkered with a little bit, and I think it's going to be really strong. By Legacy standards, what most people want to do with Waste is play it alongside something like a Dark Ritual and a Hymn to Tourach. And this ends up starting a chain of like drawing a card, getting some zombies, making some mana that tends to lead to more discard spells, and Waste ends up being pretty strong. We've tried it a couple of different times on this channel, and I think I've finally figured out the thing that actually might break this card. And by break here, like temper your expectations a little bit. We're not gonna get like to this level of broken or anything like that here, but I might be able to make something that looks pretty playable out of this card. And the thing I came up with was actually Grief. One of the problems with Waste the last time I played it around is you were always being taxed by your own resources, because you could choose to go and cast your Waste to set up for the rest of the game, or you could choose to just play your Disruption spell, and you got to pick one of the two in many of your turns. But Grief is going to allow you to play out that Waste and then for free discard a card to get your chain running, and then if you end up making some black mana or something like that, well guess what? Now the Hymn to Tourach can come down, and you can really start spiraling these things together. So let's go ahead and come back to the One Ring for just a second, because that card is very quickly proving to be one of the better things to do in the format, with the Mystic Forge / One Ring Paradox Engine deck that I played maybe 2 weeks ago for you all now, really going and putting up strong results in challenges. So having cards like Orcish Bowmasters or Sheodred in decks that can punish card draw is really good. And if your opponent is naturally drawing some extra cards, that means your opponent isn't just going to go hellbent and then your discard spells and Waste do nothing. And we do actually have a land that can let us have a similar effect. There's a looting effect on a land that can help trigger our Waste and our Sheodreds and our Orcish Bowmasters as well. Originally I had 2 of these, but I kind of went a little bit more conservative with the mana base and went down to 1. Note for our brewers out there, one of the things that was in Jamie's original list was 2 copies of Anvil of Bogarden. This is another way to kind of trigger Waste and Sheodred and friends without necessarily giving your opponent the card advantage that the Howling Mines did in the video that I maybe played about a week ago. So let's go ahead and take a look at the whole deck list and see how this has come together. Now, today's video is sponsored by both Moxfield.com and Cool Stuff Inc. And if you end up needing to buy any paper Magic cards, please consider checking out Cool Stuff and using promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. So this is the shell that Jamie came up with and then I tinkered with a bit. We're attempting to use some combination of Waste Orcish Bowmasters, and Sheodred the Apocalypse to punish our opponent's draws and discards respectively. And we are going to be playing the Grief Reanimate package, which I think is going to be really strong with Waste You Waste Grief them, get something out of it, whether it is a draw or a zombie, and then reanimate to do it again. Like, that sounds very good to me. And the Thoughts, Uses, and Hymns and stuff can also just pave the way for Sheodred to take over a game by itself. And the Dauthi Voidwalkers also work well with Reanimates. And if we Hymn to Tourach our opponent, and then, Dauthi Voidwalker is in play, sometimes we can get something very big and scary, like an Emrakul. Now, I'm not entirely sure how the sideboard for this deck is supposed to go. I am going really heavy on Null Rod right now, and I realize that I am playing Artifact Mana myself. That is not a mistake on my end. I am very scared of the One Ring. Even though I'm playing like Sheodred and Orcish Bowmasters, I want to respect the One Ring and 8 cast decks. You could play a Powder Keg or a Ratchet Bomb or something like that in these slots as well, but I want to make sure that I'm respecting that deck. And we're playing more Orcish Bowmasters in the board, which can, again, respect the One Ring, and also opposing Orcish Bowmasters deck because, you know, the card's everywhere, folks. The card's absolutely everywhere. It's been like a week since it's been out, and it is maybe not format defining, but automatically a staple of the format. Now, one other thing that I considered playing is Tourach Dreadcanter. Like, this was in the main deck until I came up with the idea of trying Grief in the shell. This would be like maybe cards 62 and 63 in the main deck, or maybe Orcish Bowmasters would be those as well. But that was something that was very high up on my list as something that can take initiative in white matchups while being pretty resilient to removal for control matchups. So yeah, let's see how this plays out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know that this will be the best deck list that we've played on the channel in the last week or two, but Waste Not is a community favorite, and I love it. Let's battle. My first opening hand is an awkward one here, because basically these Chrome Moxen don't do anything in this hand, so this is already kind of like a double mulligan. If I were to Chrome Mox one of these two cards to play the other on turn 1, I just don't really do anything here. So despite the fact that we have a reasonable mix of lands and spells, this is a mulligan. And this is an awkward one as well. This one probably has to go back. A quick note, and I'll make myself big for this. One thing that Jamie was concerned about was the land count of this deck list sitting at just 16 lands. But then there's a bunch of Chrome Moxen and Lotus Petals and stuff, and Waste Not is supposed to refuel you. You also have Dark Ritual. So, like, there will be some mana-related concerns over the course of this league. This is going to be a keep. I'm never keeping a removal spell after mulliganing like this. And the black card is probably the hardest one to cast here. Although, honestly, my plan is just turn 2 Waste Not and probably Grief. I might want Orcish Bowmasters in my deck more than Dauthi Voidwalker, but the game could change in a way where I want to cast Bowmasters, whereas it's unlikely to change in a way where I cast Voidwalker. So here we go. We're starting from behind. All right, sorry, had to step away from it for a second there to answer something. All right, we have a snow-covered island from my opponent. I am going to attempt to just naked resolve Waste Not and hope that it works. It does. So I have options. I think I will go ahead and do this here to attempt to start popping off with Waste Not. I think in a matchup where all I know is that my opponent is probably playing cantrips, I would very much like to be able to Bowmasters. We've gotten Force of Willed, which probably means that my opponent is playing combo. It might not. Like, it could be control, and they might just have something like a prismatic ending that they need to deal with here. The Gyre Reach Sanitarium bites me in the butt here. The original version I based on had a whole bunch of colorless lands, and I cut all of them except for one, and we immediately get punished for running it. Oh, speaking of getting punished. Oh yeah, that feels good. This is what you all came here to see, right? All right. Bam, bam, bam. Now we are getting a fetch. Veil of Summer. Okay. So I guess that Bowmasters now has to target me, huh? Awkward. So since those triggers fizzle, that means that my orcs actually don't get larger. We're probably playing against a blue-green show and tell deck, if I were to guess. Veil's an ass kicker for my deck in particular. Fuck you. And I can't target my opponent with that. Target myself. This time it does grow the orcs. But like, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm still crashing in for 4. Alright, but my opponent is mean. Would you like to draw a whole bunch of cards? Oh my god, they would like to draw a whole bunch of cards. I was kind of hoping this would happen, but like, He's not supposed to, right? Like, okay, so they can look for yet another copy of Veil of Summer. Icefang Coatl. All these are going face. Like, I'm not beating the Girdlebrand, so we're going face with these. Brainstorm, yes. The stack is going to be so thick. Triggers. Triggers, folks. So Veil of Summer is going to be brutal. We're basically just going to ignore that that card exists, though, because, I mean, just look at this entire deck. It's just going to get us. Opposition Agent and Bowmasters are good. Tourach is maybe good enough. I don't think I'm going to play Plague Engineer for Icefang Coatl. I can play 2 Sheodred's Edicts if I want to be able to answer a creature that is Show and Telled into play. But otherwise the card's quite bad. I think the plan is try to stop them from casting Show and Tell in the first place. I also don't think it's crazy to play Surgical Extraction. If I hit on a discard spell and I get to rip Show and Tell out of my opponent's deck, that's strong. Dauthi Voidwalker plus discard also does some serious lifting in this matchup. Maybe I don't go this route. I think I ignore this. Is Tourach too slow on the draw? I still want to be able to do this whole like Grief Reanimate thing, so I think Tourach might be too slow on the draw. I'll play it on the play if we go to a game 3 though. I don't think I like this one. It is fully reliant on my opponent having a creature in their opening hand that can be reanimated, which is somewhat unlikely. We're just going to try to do better than that. This is fine. I will keep this, pitching one of the 2 copies of Sheodred. And Veil of Summer is just always going to be a problem card for me. I think I'm on coward strats here. I think I just cast a Sheodred on turn 2. Yep. That's no shuffle with that Ponder. Yeah, I think I am fully on coward strats of cast Sheodred and kind of punish my opponent for leaving up Veil of Summer mana. Alright, sure. Yeah, using a Brainstorm now is fine. And I care about Veil of Summer a lot less once a Sheodred actually resolves. The problem with this situation is that if I went 2 turns without casting him to Tourach and my opponent just has the entire combo already, I die. But if my opponent kept a more conservative hand that was looking to play a long game and just not get gotten by discard in the first couple of turns, like, this is very strong. Or if my opponent like spends a bunch of mana trying to deal with Sheodred in some capacity in this turn cycle, then, you know, good things can happen. Alright, so Icefang Coatl is currently not live. So I am just going to go ahead and attack my opponent for 4. That brings them to 10. And if I just play Dauthi Voidwalker, my opponent dies next turn, right? No, they take 7, 8, 9 total. Well, it's kind of more than that with another draw step factored in. I'm so afraid of not casting him to Tourach, but play around Veil of Summer might just be the plan. Like, this is 8, I have 7 from attacks plus 2 more from a trigger. Icefang Coatl is just on next turn though, which is a problem. We'll see. Oh. That was put an Omniscience in and die. Okay, well, I look like a genius now. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out. Okie dokie. My hand is quite strong here. Assuming that I can resolve a Waste Knot, I can start doing some silly things with Grief, and I've also got Orcish Bowmasters for maybe a fair creature deck, maybe for a blue deck, who knows? Fair blue stuff, maybe? Basic Plains. Cephalid Breakfast. We're just gonna Bowmasters that thing out of play then, I think. We're gonna do all of the things? Holy fuck, we're gonna do all of the things. This turn is gonna be hot. Cast a Waste Knot. I think I grief pitching a Waste Knot. Although it is a little tempting to just greed this up and get multiple Waste Knot draws, but I think I have to cast Orcish Bowmasters right now to just avoid dying. Oh, they have a Cephalid Illusionist that they did not obviously want to pitch to Force of Will. I'll go ahead and take that. Gives me a 2/2 zombie. My opponent now no longer has Force of Will available. And now that I've cleared the way of Force of Will, I will go ahead and Bowmasters my opponent's Nomads in Core. And we're going to have to figure out how to beat an Urza Saga, but presuming that we do that, the rest of this hand is strong. My opponent's cantrips won't be particularly good. They can Orum's Chant me to slow me down if they want. Oh, gross. They just drew Staff of the Storyteller. Although that's a little awkward against Orcish Bowmasters now that I actually start thinking about it. So there's land drop. I always attack with this. I guess I don't really care if I attack with this and it trades with a spirit. Like, that's still giving me a removal spell worth of value. Alright, so my opponent is chilling. So Urza Saga is going to start to tick up. They don't control that many artifacts. But like, this has a 2/2 already. Trades with this. Alright. They are chilling. They did not just Orum's Chant me. I'll go ahead and crash in with my zombie. Opponent just takes that. And I'm waiting on a Reanimate or another decent-sized payoff card here to get some serious work done. My opponent can get a Shuko here as part of their combo, while also going and doing this whole thing. A Retrofitter Foundry. So we're in it for the long haul then, huh? Okay. Still no 3 of the 4 cards in their hand. I think in theory, I might grow this Orc. I think I'm not going to take a block this turn. I'm definitely falling behind, though. I'm kind of surprised that my opponent didn't just, like, Orum's Chant me. But let's go ahead and Thoughtseize, mostly for the Waste Knot ability more than anything else here. Brainstorm, Force of Will, Orum's Chant. So I want to draw a card here, so a non-creature, non-land. I think that means Force of Will. Brainstorm, Orum's Chant, Underground Sea. The cards left here. Nice. So now I will go ahead and Hymn to Tourach my opponent. I get a land, or sorry, I get mana and a card draw here. My opponent's got Orum's Chant left. I'll use my mana for Dauthi Voidwalker. I don't have good attacks here, unfortunately. I also wonder if my opponent should just be like drawing cards with Staff of the Storyteller now. Like, I get an Orcish Bowmasters ping, but their construct tokens are just larger than anything else here. Like, I think a ping is okay. They disagree. Oof. That's rough. So this is really 10 damage because of Retrofitter Foundry. I think I've got to take some chump blocks. And I can't just trade. I can't throw everything in front of the bus and trade. That's just not going to work since my opponent can turn them into 5/5s. I am still not eating Orum's Chant, which I'm a little surprised about. I'll play another Dauthi Voidwalker. I'll attack in for 3. I think next turn I need to do something gross with like sacrificing a Dauthi Voidwalker and taking a good card from my opponent. There's just like such a high chance that I'm dead to construct token beats here. Yeah, this is a play pattern that happens a lot against Cephalid Breakfast, where you like stop the combo but die to the fair stuff because you exhausted all your resources in the early game. I think I mulliganed to like... Did I mulligan in this one? No, I did not. This is really 6, 12, 13, 14 damage, so I have to throw Orcish Bowmasters under the bus, which means Staff of the Storyteller is on. Alright, my opponent's not even making the other construct here. I am 1 turn away from killing them with 2 Dauthi Voidwalker attacks, but that's just not going to work. Alright, so now they are going to use the Orm's Chant as Time Walk. So there is a kicked Orm's Chant, so no attacks for me, no spells for me, which probably means that I am dead. Ping a servo. 2 bodies to block. I don't really go anywhere from there. Or like I ping, decrease the artifact count. I guess I can see if I'm somehow... No, these don't get to attack this turn. It's not just silence. Yeah, I think in that case, then I am dead over the course of the next couple of turns. I am fine conceding there. So for these small tokens, these and these are perfectly fine. Opposition Agent has a decent amount of text here. And then you start getting into this, how much do I hedge versus the combo versus how much do I hedge for the fair stuff. And I admittedly have a lot of trouble figuring out the balance for sideboarding in the Cephalid Breakfast matchup, which I think is one of the strengths of the deck, is it's very hard to sideboard against. The answer may be, like, don't play Waste Not, but my deck is kind of built around the card. What about don't play Dauthi Voidwalker? No, it's a hate card for the combo portion. Are we just on fair mono black? Try to grind through, but we're trying to grind through without my card advantage engine, which feels wrong. My low-ish land count also starts to look a little scarier without Waste Not providing me with additional mana. I need Waste Not when I'm on the play, I think. I think I board Waste Not out when I'm on the draw. A Sheodred. Maybe I don't mess around with opposition agents on the play. Like, they are fine. They can come down very quickly on the play, but... Okay, I think I just need Waste Not. I'll do something like this. Maybe Plague Engineer is less necessary than I think it is because Orcish Bowmasters just covers the same cards. Nope. Incredibly awkward. I probably still keep this. Pitching the Chrome Mox. This is, I think, a little bit of a weird turn. I think I Dark Ritual and just Orcish Bowmasters immediately, assuming that my opponent might just counter it because it's annoying. And if that does happen, I reanimate it. If it doesn't, I have cantrip insulation and like something that can scale up for if my opponent has a hand that is based around ponders and such. But it's just like very awkward if my opponent just like Swords to Plowshares this Orcish Bowmasters without it doing anything else. Retrofitter Foundry, sure. Another Bowmasters. Okay. Go ahead and attack with both. I think I will just amass now. Despite the fact that, like, my opponent has some lines where they just make some tokens. If I attack with Orcish Bowmasters and my opponent blocks and kills it, I just reanimate it and move on with my life. There's this Saga, you say? And an Illusionist. May get punished for playing out Bowmasters early. Yeah, still working on play patterns with these cards. Oh wow, my opponent's actually thinking about blocks. Hell yeah. I'm so excited about that. So they go to 11. This is a bit of an awkward use of a Dark Ritual because it will take me off of Grief next turn, but I think I just want to do both things that I can do right now. Let's go ahead and Waste Not and Reanimate Bowboy. My opponent really did not want 2 of those in play. Let's see if we can figure out why. Like a Brainstorm is just like fully uncastable at this point, right? It would just be like 6 direct damage. Another Urza Saga, sure. Chromox is a very bad draw. So I can attack with an Orc token safely. Can't attack with the Bowmasters safely. My opponent goes to 7. And I am chilling with a dead card in hand, unfortunately. And we'll see if we can beat some fair constructs. Like, I have the cantrip portion of my opponent's deck on lock, but I'm just not sure how easy it is for me to beat this stuff right now. My opponent can also be threatening a combo finish that I can't super beat as of right now. Oh my god. That is another whiff on my draw. My opponent doesn't necessarily know that. We get to chill. Small mistake from my opponent. They should have equipped their Shuko to something. Like, that does have a relevant power increase. Now my opponent is on their third construct. What does Pithing Needle do against me? Oh, okay. That's fair. Okay. So there's an equip. I think this is a no block situation. I think if I win this, it's me limping over the finish line somehow on my next turn with some sort of Orcish Bowmasters nonsense. +5 combat damage. Ooh, prismatic ending on the token. Sure. That is reasonable. That makes it much harder for me to win here. Alright. I believe in Waste Not. We get to play Hymn to Tourach around days and see what Waste Not cooks up for us. Nothing. So I block, I die. Cephalid Breakfast, too strong. GG's. Okay, so I can play a turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker, have 3 mana on turn 2, or I can play a Sheodred on turn 2. I don't think this hand is good as it stands now. With one more card, this hand might be reasonable. Like, for example, if I draw a turn 1 discard spell, then I have a nice curve of like Thoughtseize into Voidwalker into Sheodred or something. I think this gets improved by enough draws that I just keep it. A Noble Hierarch, sure. Basic Swamp is not one of the things that improves my draws. So I think I am going to Swamp and pass. It's possible I'm supposed to just play Dauthi Voidwalker and start beating down in a fair way, but I don't know a lot about my opponent's deck yet. Like, I don't know if I need to be expecting a Grist here on turn 2. I don't know if my opponent is a blue deck and they just didn't take a they didn't take a blue duel on turn 1 because Noble Hierarch produces blue anyway. It's looking like we might be in the fair, like, Maverick or Maverick adjacent ballpark. My opponent has Opposition Agent, it seems like. That just feels very telegraphed to me based on that fetch timing and no Noble Hierarch attack. I don't love that if my opponent has Swords to Plowshares, my Sheodred is effectively a 3-for-1. And it's not like my opponent is going to be cantripping, but this has a big booty. And 5 is more than 3+1, which is Opposition Agent plus Noble Hierarch Exalted. Oh, it's Orcish Bowmasters instead. Well, well, well. We're both playing Legacy. Please don't Swords. No! No! Yeah, that was a 3-for-1. Swords to Plowshares. I don't know exactly what my opponent is playing. We're early enough after the release of Orcish Bowmasters that there aren't a ton of deck lists out there yet at the time of this recording. But like, it's very clear that they're like a junk mid-range deck of some nature. Yeah, okay, that's kind of where I thought this was going. Oh man, this is some bullshit. Like, just Fiend Artisan to search up Orcish Bowmasters on the stick. This I don't like this. I think to halt, and nothing that I do matters. My opponent just gets Grist. Grumble, 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 grumble. Yeah, my hand was kind of good versus combo with like Dauthi Voidwalker and Sheodred available as turn 2 plays, but not looking good here. I expect to concede this game in short order. Like, drawing my Orcish Bowmasters isn't good, as my opponent's Fiend Artisan is going to outscale it very quickly, and once Fiend Artisan is not an X1, then I start having to worry about a lot of different things. They just drew the Grist. Fuck me. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I guess if I draw Bowmasters, I can kill Grist. I don't know if that is correct. If they just... No, they can't have another Bowmasters. They don't have black mana available. Like, they get the same amount of damage in if they just sacrifice a creature. Like, they can sacrifice Noble Hierarch that turn, get another 1-drop, and attack with Orcish Bowmasters. Or no, I guess they lose Exalted then. But the 1 point of damage doesn't seem like it matters. Alright, Sheodred, you have a lot of work to do. Also, does my opponent have a second Grist? Is a very real question. They probably do. Okay, they're gonna do a fetch. Riot Arbor? Nope. Gonna take the initiative here? Oh, sure. Okay. My Thoughtseize is not doing a lot here. Is my land enter tapped? God damn it. First strike Death Touch means my attack is invalid. Fuck. Everything is ruined. I mean, Sheodred is still technically doing work, but I am not getting anywhere. Okay, sure. So what was X there? X is 4. Are we taking the initiative now? We are taking the initiative now. I don't think I can win anymore. Like, I can pretend, but like my opponent has initiative, first strike, and death touch, a planeswalker, and a card advantage engine on a stick in the form of Fiend Artisan. Like, oh wow, they're actually crashing in with Thalia. Take 2, you fool! Ha 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 ha. Yeah, so I just have to eat this damage. Okay, yeah, with land as a draw, I am comfortable conceding here. With Bowmasters, I'm great at taking out the small creatures, but I'm not that great at getting rid of a lot of other stuff here. So this is the pile of things that I can consider bringing in. I'm almost certainly not going to play all of these. What has to come in out of the sideboard stuff? I think these. Tourach feels optional to me. 7 slots. Is my opposition agent fast enough most of the time? Sometimes it is. Fast enough on the play, it's not on the draw. Maybe I don't Plague Engineer on the play. I'm having trouble boarding with this deck. Like, everything is kind of a part of something and matters in some way. Maybe I've built my sideboard wrong. Does Sheodred matter less here? Like, my opponent can be playing Caracas. I'm boarding in 4 more creatures. Maybe I can get rid of Sheodred. I want to live this Grief, Reanimate, Waste Not Dream. Yeah, I am having so much trouble just sideboarding here. And that may just mean that I'm supposed to not play Waste Not, but my deck is designed to do that. This is going to be a keep. Pitch this. Just keep a critical density of cards. I think I am going to attempt to not play Thoughtseize on turn 1 so that I can pop off on turn 3. Just turn 2 Waste Not into turn 3, like Thoughtseize and Grief, maybe Reanimate. I think that's the way that I win the game from the position that I am currently in. And it is very scary to just believe in Waste Not here. I think I am going to wait 1 turn before doing all of this nonsense because of how good it is if I draw him to Tourach specifically. Because that potentially provides me with mana that means that I don't have to hard cast all this stuff. I can answer that with a Sheoldred's Edict. Oh my god, it's happening. This is the exact scenario that I had in my mind. How do I sequence this? I guess it has to be him first. Well, it doesn't have to be him first. It could be Grief first. If I play Grief first, I have the highest chance of hitting a land with the remaining Hymn to Tourach so that I can cast some of this other stuff for mana. But conversely, what if I him and hit land, then I want to be able to do both of these. Alright, am I ever casting Thoughtseize this turn? Probably not. It is a probably, though. Let's Grief, pitch Thoughtseize. I draw a card if I take Prismatic Ending. I think is what I would like to do here. I think that's what I would like to do. Chrome Mox is not a good draw. I will now Hymn to Tourach my opponent. Alright. My opponent has Orcish Bowmasters left. And I get to get rid of Grist. Sack a Planeswalker. That was a decent turn. My creatures avoid Orcish Bowmaster. I'm fine just trading bodies here. That's okay with me. Now my Waste Not becomes a little bit worse from here, unfortunately, as my opponent will soon be Hellbent. It may just be that like I can't really go in on Waste Not in this format. Like I just need to use my mana to attack with my opponent. Like Waste Not is more reasonable when my opponent's not playing creatures. Oh man. Yikes. Well, I at least have the possibility of trading the initiative back and forth, but I'm just like not the best at dealing with a large number of creatures in play. I'll eat 2 damage here. Go to 17. I have whiffed. I get to attack for 7 and make a land drop, but it doesn't feel like my land drop matters at all. I just have 3 dead cards. Grab my swamp. It feels like on like non-dark ritual situations, I'm just like not keeping up with my opponent a lot of times. Rough. This effectively leaves me with 0 cards against my opponent who has 4 creatures on board and the initiative. I do not believe I am coming back from this, especially when Waste Not can't dig me out here. Alright, so it's going on Bowmasters, so Bowmasters can't hit Bowmasters. Makes sense to me. Yeah, so this is this scenario where if my opponent still had cards in hand, this would allow me to potentially pop off, but they don't. I will go ahead and concede here. Waste Not quite not... Wait, Waste not quite working. That's a tongue twister. Okay, we have a choice here, and that choice is how all in do we go on Waste Not on turn 1? I believe I just Chrome Mox and imprint a Sheodred and then attempt to do double Thoughtseize nonsense on my next turn, rather than use one of the 2 copies of Thoughtseize to cast the other this turn. That just doesn't feel like good value to me. Oh! I'm just going to die for not casting a Thoughtseize on turn 1. Fucking tilt. Alright, so we're probably playing against Oops All Spells, or something in that general ballpark. They named Thalia. Undercity Informer, and activate. Yep, we were playing against Oops All Spells, and I lose the game for not Thoughtseizing on turn 1. Let's see if anything interesting is in the list. There's a Memory's Journey, which is worth noting. That's about the only interesting thing in the main deck here. So now my opponent Dread returns Thassa's Oracle, and I die. There it is. How disappointing. Like, Waste Not was going to absolutely pop off that hand. Okay. So, Surgical Matters. Plague Engineer technically has some text. I'll consider playing it. Opposition Agent technically has some text versus Summoner's Pact. Tourach may be a better replacement to other stuff that exists. Orcish Bowmasters technically can like ping some Narcomoebas and stuff. Nilrud technically does some stuff. This becomes more what don't I want to play. Sheldred's Edict is incredibly slow. I, as you saw, don't have time for Waste Not in this matchup, which is frustrating. And then Sheodred is probably the slowest thing in the main deck beyond that. So Surgical's in, Opposition Agent's in, that can go in, that can go in, and then it's just like, how do I want to play this game of like Null Rod versus my own, like shutting off my own mana sources? Leaves me with 16 creatures, which is a little light as far as actually getting a kill goes. I think I will fill with a Null Rod rather than play all the possible Null Rods. Yeah, this is fine. It's a little mana light for my liking, but god damn it. Sure. Alright, we're chilling. Is my mana getting used on Orcish Bowmasters? Like, is that the best thing that I can do with my resources? Probably not. This target opponent? Well, it's not like Thoughtseize is doing a lot. So the first trigger is just taken off the stack. And this is a fancy way of producing 3 power in a way that costs me a shit ton of cards. Thanks, I hate it. Alright, cool. Opposition Agent and Orcish Bowmaster are both now available, although neither one is particularly strong. I'm fully just hoping that I can aggro my opponent to death. Like, that is all that I have here. Let's see if it's good enough. Thoughtseize not doing a lot here. But 6 damage a turn is adding up. I'll go ahead and Orcish Bowmasters. We'll just deal 1 damage to one of my creatures here, because I can't deal it to my opponent. They have discarded a Leyline. I have a very light amount of interaction available here, but like this is my opponent's chance to go off. Yeah, they kept a hand fully based on Leyline of Sanctity, and then died when that didn't work. So if I know that my opponent is planning on mulliganing to Leyline of Sanctity, my Sheodred's become more attractive all of a sudden. On the draw, just having anything that interacts with my opponent early is nice. So on the draw, I might play some Null Rods. Tourach is very slow on the draw. This is 14 creatures, which I don't love. And it's possible I'm not supposed to try to do like the whole Grief Reanimate thing if my opponent is going to mulligan to Leyline some portion of the time, but, you know, my deck is kind of built around it. So here we are. I have a Surgical for a game where I'm on the play, so I'm going to keep this. Sorry, a game where I'm on the draw. Okay, my opponent is on 6 with no copy of Leyline of Sanctity. Alright, here we go. Dark Ritual. Spirit Guide. Dude. All this stuff hits play. Memory's Journey is in graveyard. Thassa's Oracle is in graveyard. What do I Surgical Extraction? Is there a difference? Narcomoeba seems like a fine thing to surgically extract here. Go ahead and pay my life. See if my opponent has a force effect. Memory's Journey. They had a green Spirit Guide. I guess I could have mathed that out. If I target Thassa's Oracle, do I win there? Thassa's Oracle goes back in deck. They draw it next turn. Then next turn they Cabal Therapy themselves and then Dread Return it. And they have enough bodies that Bowmasters doesn't beat that. Yeah, Bowmasters doesn't beat that. Yeah, I guess I should have targeted the Oracle. Yeah, I can name Oracle, or sorry, I extract Oracle. And then with Memory's Journey gone, I reanimate one of their things and just mill them out. Yeah, it seems like that wins. Yep, this is one of those times where if I counted Spirit Guides, I win that game, because I know to play around Memory's Journey. Okay, GG's. Alright, final round here. I will get to do some gross things this turn, one way or another. Probably Thoughtseize. I'm keeping, I'll let my opponent make their mulligan decision, but I probably Thoughtseize first to just fully make sure that everything else is going to happen. And then do some gross mean things. Oh! Yeah, this'll do. I'm gonna take a Sheodred here. Take a Sheodred. Go ahead and play a Lotus Petal. Going to Grief. Pitching my own Sheodred. I will take your Baleful Strix. I will evoke my Grief. I will reanimate my Grief. I will do another thing. I will take your Thassa's Oracle, I think. That's often just a scry, though. Let's take the Murktide Regent. And then next turn, I will reanimate your Sheodred. Nice hand. Yeah, land pass. Man, that would have been real cool last turn. So here's 3 points of damage. And a reanimate on Sheodred, which undoes a whole lot of life loss that I took for playing double reanimate in the first 2 turns of the game. Yeah, okay. So, what I don't know is which way my opponent is going to attempt to put Thassa's Oracle into play. I don't know if they are going to mill themselves out. I don't know if this is like, Alright, I'm blanking on the name of the card. The 2-mana one that exiles your graveyard. That's what I think it is. Or, sorry, I should rephrase that. It exiles your library and shuffles your graveyard in. I think that's what it is, because that is good with Murktide Regent. Now, my opponent's deck presumably has a bunch of counter magic, and I just didn't see any of it this game, because that's not the kind of hand that they kept. I imagine that since I play against a blue deck, I board in Orcish Bowmasters. I don't imagine that I will do very much boarding here. My reanimates are very good in this matchup. Yeah, I'm having trouble with sideboarding here, because I don't really want to cut any of my cards in this matchup, but Bowmasters is good. Like, I can't really cut my Sheodred's Edict. I need some outs for Murktide Regents. Can't cut Voidwalkers, I don't think. They're good against Murktide Regents and some of my opponent's combo aspects. 2 Griefs. I don't know, like, Grief just won me that game. Yeah, cut 2 Sheodreds when I'm on the draw for being slow. What does this hand do? Chromox, Imprint, Thoughtseize. Chromox, Imprint, Thoughtseize. Cast Dark Ritual. Thoughtseize you. Draw a black card. Grief you. Bowmaster you and Reanimate? Yeah, okay. Fair. Slightly unexpected, but fair. We'll get him to Tourach in there. Sounds good. Alright. It is actually catastrophic for me if Chromox or Dark Ritual gets killed here. My opponent doesn't necessarily know that, though. What if I imprint Grief? No. So I will Dark Ritual. I wonder if I was supposed to Grief first. Minor misstep. My Hymn to Tourach and my Orcish Bowmasters are now both worse. I don't have the second mana source for them. I'm going to Grief pitching him, I think. Alright, so they are planning on doing Dark Ritual plus Sheodred. I'm just going to take their Dark Ritual to decrease the chances that they can do something cool in the next turn. And then I will reanimate Grief and take one of these 2, and then get rid of the other one as well. And that usually works. Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. I forgot about the ley line after specifically talking about the ley line. Alright, yeah, I misplayed. Alright, take Sheodred. I will plan on reanimating your Sheodred next turn. But that was the takeover Dark Ritual, for sure. We'll see if I can recover from that mistake. Heyo. Surely I just do this now, though. I will just take out both of those cards, and then my opponent doesn't get... Of course it will. Yeah, okay. Good call. Like, my opponent can flashback Deep Analysis, which is, like, slightly annoying. Oh, they missed it. Alright, no, it's a sorcery. JK, JK. Alright, there's the Deep Analysis flashback. I really want Reanimate on Sheodred to resolve, so I'm gonna continue to do this. Oh, that's good. It's a shame I'm so tight on mana. I'm just, like, not happy with how I've played this game. Force of Negation and a Leyline, those are not good cards. My opponent will presumably draw whatever their top card is and be very happy with it. Doomsday. That exiles their graveyard, that's so inconvenient for me. Okay, their Doomsday has resolved. I don't see Sheodred. Oh no, there's Sheodred. They could have multiples. I guess I'm just holding up Orcish Bowmasters. Like, my opponent will almost certainly make a proactive play on their turn. Alright, sure. Okay, yeah, they do have multiple. I will just do this to use my mana. Put my opponent to 5. Alright, I lose some life. My opponent's not killing me with a Sheodred very easily. But I don't get attacks, and my opponent gets to get out of range of being pinged by Bowmasters. So there's that. Since I have 2... No, I can't just chump block with this, because this ley line is fucking me up. Alright. Did not really expect Leyline of the Void to be a potent sideboard card versus me, but here we are. Awkward. Do I have to do this anyway? I might have to do this anyway. Let's see what happens with Waste Not. I was supposed to hold that up. I was supposed to hold that up for when Thassa's Oracle goes on the stack. God damn it. I have played this game awfully. Petty Theft. Annoying. I'll discard one of those reanimates. I don't get to amass orcs like I wanted. This changes life totals. More Bowmasters. Already made my land drop. I have double Orcish Bowmasters next turn. But I'm just dead to my opponent's Thassa's Oracle because I played poorly. Unless they literally didn't put Thassa's Oracle in their pile. I block. I see. That's cute. Yeah, they did not put it in their pile. So I know exactly what I have to beat, right? I just have to beat this Sheodred, which I do. You sacrifice a non-token creature, which is Sheodred. I will then play Orcish Bowmasters, which I can because I have a second one to kill Brazen Borrower. Just ping you. Put you to 4. Then I think Orcish Bowmasters kills a variety of different ways next turn. Yeah, I think my opponent just got cute with their pile. I attack for 2. This can only block flyers, so it's not a problem. After no blocks, 2 mana for a new Orcish Bowmasters. And I win the game in the match, and we end up 2-3 in the league, but I am not happy with how I played that game. Alright, so we end up with okay results for the league, but I'm not super happy with how really anything went down in this league. I think my biggest problem with Waste Not is that I can't really guarantee that I'm going to get the modes I want. Really, with Waste Not, the mode that I want is the bottom mode, pretty much always. I just want to draw extra cards so that my discard spells turn into cantrips. And that was very much not guaranteed. I felt like Grief was the answer, and that Grief was going to allow me to really take advantage of Waste Not. But I felt like a lot of times I just kind of ended up with some clunky sequences of cards where I ended up with the Reanimates and the Waste Nots at the same time, but not the Grief. Or I needed Waste Not to be hitting the third mode, but my opponent was playing a creature deck, so it wasn't super relevant. I definitely didn't pilot optimally in this league, but I don't know that this deck list is quite right. I feel like in some way, Harry MTG put out another Waste Not video recently, and his build, I think, plays too many bad cards. It was playing cards like Encroach, which I'm really not excited about. I feel like that is a very inconsistent card that is just going to miss very frequently, but it's a way to turn your Waste Not into mana, which I was lacking unless I had him to Tourach. So maybe there's something there, but his build had encroaches and sinkholes and wastelands, and my Gaia Reach Sanitarium, my one of colorless source, lost me games, whereas his list had 4 wastelands and 4 Urza's Sagas, and I feel like that's just a lot in terms of colorless mana. So maybe you can mash our 2 deck lists together in some capacity and end up with something that's kind of reasonable. I'm not sure that this deck is supposed to play Orcish Bowmasters, despite the fact that that card is very, very good. It's just Dauthi Voidwalker and Orcish Bowmasters had the same problem in that they are very good cards that are just not on theme with the whole Waste Not thing, and it may just be that the Waste Not thing is the weakest thing that the deck is doing, so that it's the thing that should be cut. I don't know exactly, but I hope I've given some good food for thought to people like Jamie out here who are going to be messing around with Waste Not. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot, and let me know down in the comments below how you think the deck should be adjusted. Have a great rest of the day. And remember, if you need to buy any paper cards, Cool Stuff Inc. is a great place to shop, and promo code ThrabenU will save you 5%. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.